Okay, the research phase. We are going to together leverage no-code tools to generate fresh ideas for original content and to research material for repurposing. We'll include Perplexity and ChatGPT and APIs, but we will begin with a simple manual Chrome extension to access transcripts in YouTube. And that just gets the ball rolling with regards to our research phase. So in YouTube, as we know, it's a massive video sharing platform. We can find videos on virtually any topic, and that helps us to drive forward our research. In the first instance, I remember someone talking about the Dummies site. That was always a really great place to go to begin to get ideas for content creation. If there is a Dummies publication on that particular subject, on that particular niche or niche, then that's a great place to go to begin to figure out content creation ideas. Other people would say to go to Amazon and look at books and look at chapters and different research ideas. But YouTube more and more now is a wealth of information, as we know, and it's a great place to start. We can research content. Once we have the transcript of the video, we can discover new ideas and we can learn from experts to stay on the cutting edge as we understand industry trends. And we watch what happens, we learn what's happening from other people, and that's a great place to start with our content creation. We don't necessarily want to watch all of the videos. We want to get the transcript of the video because it's a searchable format. It's an easy format to repurpose, leveraging AI tools. And so that's where we want to start. We find the videos that are useful to us, and we want to grab the transcript. Chrome extensions. You may use them for a variety of purposes. I have different Chrome extensions for learning about the makeup of a website that I may be looking at, colors that are used, fonts that are used. I have Chrome extensions that help me to create lists of prospects or to find email addresses for prospects, lots of different things. But one super useful Chrome extension relates to grabbing the transcript of a YouTube video and makes it available to us in text format. But Chrome extensions in general are small software add-ons that enhance your browsing experience in Google Chrome. And for example, some extensions let you access the transcripts of YouTube videos directly. And if we can do that, then we can review content, we can drive forward our research, we can search for specific information within the transcript, and we can grab quotes as well, just for starters. Perplexity is a fantastic tool, and it's possibly the AI tool that I use the most at the moment. I'll show you in a second that there is some controversy over how they're gathering data at the moment, and we will look at that in a second. But right now, Perplexity is an AI tool that's able to search the internet. It's a brilliant research tool. It's an AI-powered answer engine that provides concise and accurate information by leveraging large language models accessible without coding expertise. It's a no-code tool. We can get instant answers. We can find credible sources, and it links out to those credible sources for us, and it simplifies research. And it's a brilliant tool. My kids have the Perplexity app on their phones, and so it's very, very close. They use the same account that I use, so I can always see what sources they're looking at. But it's actually a great way to research things together as well. If they come to me and they say, I need help with this, Dad, with this particular subject, I may push them first to an app like Perplexity to begin to gain an understanding of that particular subject, and then we can talk about it afterwards. And I can even see what they have searched, and then that can help us to communicate and to talk about these things even after the fact as well. But Perplexity is a powerful app for research purposes. It's a great place to begin for content creation because we can have it help us to get an understanding of a subject in a broad sense, perhaps even to begin to lay out subheadings or chapter titles, for example, and then we can use perhaps another app to flesh out the content. So let's look at these tools in depth. We'll look at the tools themselves and how I'm using them, how you might use these tools to research content and to get new ideas or to take content and repurpose it. So let's start with super manual. When I'm thinking about these things, having a manual step in our process is not a bad thing. Sometimes it's just where our mind is. We get to work through things. What I'm looking for to search, I'm going to search for it. And then what I see on the screen, I might want to go and search for something that relates to that. And so we will work towards automating each step of this process. But let's not think of manual as a bad thing, because we can think on our feet, we can change our thoughts in response to what we're seeing on the screen and what comes back and the results of our research. It'll trigger new thoughts and we search down a different rabbit hole. So manual is good for me just to get going, just to get things started, and we will automate, but let's not throw the manual steps out altogether. Okay, so this video here on YouTube, I want us to use this as a basis for our research. And so first of all, I want to get the transcript. So to get the transcript, we'll use a Chrome extension. So if we go to YouTube transcription, let's see what comes up. I think it's going to be this one. So I'm going to add to Chrome. This extension is going to be able to read and change all of our data on all websites. Sounds a bit scary, but to use it, we have to go ahead and accept. So let's do that. Okay, so we add the extension and it's forwarded us to a page that apparently is not found. That doesn't matter to me, because I can see that if I go up to this tab on Chrome, I can see if I hit the jigsaw piece, then that opens up the list of extensions that I have available to me. If I scroll down, I can see it at the bottom here. And if I hit the pen, it's going to bring it and make it available to me up here so that I can click on it. And I have a list of Chrome extensions all through here for lots of different things, lots of different purposes for each of these extensions. And I love the Chrome browser primarily for this reason, for the extensions that we can use. And there's different things like perplexity that we will cover within the scope of this course, Google Tag Manager, Tag Assistant, this is the Facebook ones, the Metapixel Helper, and lots of different things. So this particular extension takes all of the tabs that I have open. I click on the umbrella and it copies a list of all of the URLs which relate to the tabs that I have open. So lots of different helpful things, screen recordings, HTML and CSS. I could review this page and find out what a particular font on the screen was. So super useful. But the one we're interested in right now is the transcription. And so if we go back to this video, if you look down here at the top of the related videos, then there is about to be an extension that's added onto the top here. So I'll just show you this now to show you that it's not there. And if I refresh the page, now that we have this extension in place, then it's going to show us, when I pause the video, it shows us this extra piece of real estate on the screen, which is YouTube transcript. And so now what I have available to me is the ability to copy. I click here and see if I open a text document on my laptop, I could go and paste. And now I have perhaps not flawless transcription, but I have the transcription available to me. I've copied it. I can paste it. I can search through it. I could paste it into ChatGPT or into another app, Perplexity. We'll do that in a second. So this is available to me now. It's super manual, but it's nice and quick, and it gets us started on researching from YouTube, for example. It gets us started on researching different content that we want to leverage. So this particular video, it discusses a strategy that got someone really good results. Great. And it relates to content marketing. So it's a good one for us to start with, just to grab the transcript, because that's going to be relevant for us in just a second. So we know that we can use YouTube. We know that we can grab an extension. While we're here, let's just do one more extension. And if we go back to here, and if we just say YouTube thumbnail, thumbnail viewer for YouTube, add to Chrome, add extension, and it pops up here for a second. And once I X out of this, it goes away until I hit the jigsaw. I can come down, find where the extension is, and pin it to make it available. I go back to the video, and if I just click on this pin now that we're on YouTube, it's going to make the thumbnail available to me, and I could copy that thumbnail if I want to reference it, if I want to leverage it in a blog post where I'm talking about this video, then I've got that graphic available to me. And it's just simple. It's a simple way to grab another asset that can be helpful to us in our content creation or our content repurposing. So that is the Chrome extension. We're using YouTube for research, and that's a really good way to get started. But a whole other level is a tool called Perplexity that I want to look at just now. So if I take the YouTube URL of this video, and if I open up Perplexity, it's already downloaded onto my machine. I have the Pro account. I'll show you how to go and find Perplexity if you haven't done so already. Perplexity.ai. And I would encourage you to go for the Pro account. It's not necessary. I think on the free account at the moment, and these things change, but on the free account at the moment, you can have perhaps up to 5 Pro searches a day, and that's just on the free account. And so one of the reasons I like Perplexity is because Perplexity can go and reference videos, it can go to websites, it can go and do research. It's a research assistant that for me I have in my pocket because it's on my phone. My kids have it on their phones as well, as they do with ChatGPT from OpenAI. And so it's a very powerful research tool. And I just want to step through what my thought process might be if I'm leveraging Perplexity to go and to research a particular subject. So for example, let's just start with this video. We were able to use a Chrome extension to go and get a transcription, and then we can copy and paste that transcription. We can preserve it for later until we need it. We can repurpose it later. But let's skip over the transcription part. If we just pop the URL into Perplexity, let's start with just a regular search, which would be a search that would be available on the free account. And the thing to notice about the free account is that when you search with a standard search, the layer of search is 1 deep. So it's 1 query deep. If I, on the other hand, use a pro search, then the search could be 3 steps deep. So if I ask a query of Perplexity, it's a non-pro search, then we might say something like, help me understand how to play the drums. The drums will be a recurring theme because it forms part of the case study that we'll work through building later on. But if I just ask Perplexity with a non-pro search, help me understand how to play the drums, let's see what response comes back. So the first thing to draw your attention to is that the first thing that happened is that the answer came. Now, that sounds obvious, but on a pro search, what you'll see is that Perplexity defines 3 or 4 different queries which are related to your original search. So the first thing that we see with a regular search is the answer comes, to start learning how to play the drums, follow these essential steps and tips that will guide you from the basics to more advanced techniques. I can see some of the sources that Perplexity went out to and referenced. We can click in to see more of them. There's some videos here that look like they're all from Drumeo, a site that is perhaps the leader in drum education. So I'm not surprised to see those videos referenced. And then we've got some feedback from Perplexity helping us to understand how to learn to play the drums. talks about rudiments and different styles, play along with music, all very relevant suggestions. And if you see there are footnotes or reference points just to say where this information has come from. Okay, brilliant. We could hit rewrite and see which particular language model we're asking Perplexity to use to get us the information. So that's great. It's a great tool to start with. But let's leverage the Pro Search, as you can do with a free account, and just see how much deeper. And if we could try and pay attention to when the search goes through, we watch to see the different steps that Perplexity is saying, okay, there's your query. And based on that query, I'm going to search this, I'll search this, and I'll search this. And then it will come back with the response. So if we do a Pro Search now for help me to understand how to play the drums. Okay, we've got a Pro Search, going to gather information on basic drumming techniques, going to search, find online resources or tutorials for learning to play the drums. And so there's a two-step query. So the query then goes 2 steps further and collates the data and gives a more focused and a more relevant response. So we have references here, sources. We've got perhaps a few more videos, different sources. I still see the Drumeo ones in there, but mixed in with other YouTube channels, understanding the basics, and off we go. And then underneath here, we've got related queries that we can click, which I find is helpful from the perspective of what else do I want to know about this? What else do I want to find out? What can you suggest to me, Perplexity, that I need to be thinking about that develops this search? What other information are you aware of that I should be paying attention to? So super powerful. And then if we just go to do a brand new thread, if we just paste in this URL, we can see how powerful this is for us. So the Pro Search says, summarize the key points discussed in the video, extract specific actionable strategies used to achieve these results, and find additional resources or articles that explain the concept of a flywheel, which is part of what he's talking about in the video. We can see the sources and then the answer, and here's a summary. And what you now have is a fine. And this is where, for me, Perplexity and other resources that I'm leveraging in the no-code space to gather information, it's time that's given back to me. I don't now need to watch the entire video. I can drop the URL in here and find out what I should be learning from this particular video. If the results of that video seem intriguing enough for me, then I can go in and watch the video. But holding up this idea of manual research versus automated research, we can use a Chrome extension super quick. It's always available. I actually deleted it from my Chrome browser so that I could show you how to add it into the browser, but it's always there for me. I would never have to go and download the extension. So it's there for me. I can do quick research and then do something with the data that I pull back. Great, that's manual. When we come into Perplexity, for example, super powerful because manually I can let my thoughts flow. I can type a search query. I can see the results that come back. I can leverage the related queries or related search questions at the bottom. And that gets me thinking outside the box a little bit more, getting outside of my own head. And so that helps to bolster my research. That's great. But that's on the manual side. What we can also do with Perplexity that then takes this to a whole new level is being able to automate our search. And so manual is good. I would suggest automated is better, even though we want to hang on to the manual steps in our process. One, because we can respond to the information we're gathering and fire off new thoughts and search again for those things. But also when we automate a process, we will find that there will be some troubleshooting involved. We'll have to figure out some of the steps. We'll have to dial it in, as opposed to pressing a button and allowing everything to be automated. So we love how powerful Perplexity is for manual search. but it's wonderful and powerful to be able to leverage Perplexity from an automation perspective, but we still want to mix both manual and automation. And I think that's where we get the best results, the best in terms of giving time back to ourselves, leveraging a tool like Perplexity, but also in quality control or quality assurance, where we don't just approach an automated setup and say, push one button, publish without reviewing, and then publish to social, telling people what we've published without reviewing. Manual is slow but effective. Automation is powerful, and we want to mix the two to get the best results. APIs, application programming interfaces. So an application programming interface, it allows different software applications to communicate with each other. And many no-code tools use APIs to enable integrations without the need for coding. If you're familiar with Zapier or Make.com or Integromat, as it used to be known, then you will already have participated in the use of APIs to transfer data, even if you perhaps weren't aware of that fact. APIs allow direct data access, the sharing of data very easily. We can automate data retrieval as opposed to manually retrieving data, and we can gather information in an efficient manner because we can leverage our devices to go out to grab that information and to place it somewhere. And we will look at how to do that. Okay, now I want to talk about APIs, the concept of an application programming interface. APIs. APIs are used to transfer data from one platform to another platform. For example, a platform like Stripe has an API which allows other platforms, maybe Samcart or Thrivecart or other checkout platforms, anyone that wants to create a product in Stripe so that the platform can make a sale to a customer, there's an API that sets up the product in Stripe. And if a platform wants to go to Stripe and list all of the transactions that were made by a particular customer and send that data back to the platform, then there's an API involved in that as well. So all different situations where there's a transfer of data from one platform to another and back again, there's generally an API involved in that process or in that transaction. So the first place that I went to when I wanted to learn about APIs is this tool called Postman. And so if you start to research APIs and dig deeper beyond just a surface level understanding of APIs, then this platform comes up a lot. Postman is a tool that was very useful to me, but still confusing as well in trying to begin to understand the APIs. And it seems like it's straying into the code territory as opposed to the no code territory where we want to exist for these examples. But it was a super useful tool that for me has been replaced by two main platforms, which would be Make.com, which was formerly Integromat, and Zapier.com. So what I learned on Postman and what I used to understand APIs in the first instance has now been replaced by Make.com and Zapier, but it's still useful, I think, as a resource. And there's lots of materials that Postman has that can help you to go beyond the surface level of understanding of APIs. If we look at this Stripe document, this is the Stripe API. Now, we want to understand this, but we don't want to get bamboozled by it. It's useful to understand it. It's useful to reference what is known as the endpoints involved in an API, but we don't want to go so deep into this that we're scared off of using it. You actually use APIs, or APIs serve you all the time, every day when you're browsing on the web, when you're interacting with different platforms. APIs are beneath the surface and serving data, sharing data, passing data. And so you interact with APIs without knowing it all the time. So let's not be scared off by trying to understand the APIs, but at the same time, let's stay surface level and not dive too deep. With that said, let's use that example of a checkout platform like Samcart, for example. They may leverage the Stripe API in different ways, and they will leverage it in different ways. So if we look down the left-hand side here, these are all of the endpoints grouped into folders or categories. So this particular category is the products group of endpoints. If we look at the products endpoint, if we click into it, we can see that there are different options. And this one here, create a product. You can see on the right-hand side, this is the response that would come back from Stripe. Stripe would hear from Samcart or another checkout platform. They would have a request to create a product sent to them by Samcart, and then this is the response that would be sent back to the platform. And so it's the transfer of information from one platform. There's a handshake involved. As long as one platform recognizes the other platform and the credentials are recognized on both sides, then both sides of the platform are happy to have a transaction and a successful passing of data. So perhaps Samcart makes a request to Stripe, create a product. Stripe says, I recognize that request. I recognize the credentials. I'm going to create that product, and then I'm going to send information back to Samcart to say that product has been created. If we look down the rest of the endpoints, let me see if there's another example. How about subscriptions? There are different endpoints to create a subscription, update a subscription, retrieve a specific subscription, list all of the subscriptions for a particular customer. And so each transaction that you would imagine are involved in passing data from a checkout platform to Stripe and passing data back again, they're referenced in the API documentation. Now, I say that not to go too deep, but I say that because there are different hurdles that we might come up against in our no-code journey. And one of the main hurdles that I find is that if we're using a platform like Make.com that we will explore together, or Zapier, if we list the available options of things that we can automate using these platforms, we read through that list and we find that might be useful, but that option is not quite what I need. And we can actually exhaust the list of options that are available inside of a platform like Make.com or Zapier. And then we think that it's not possible to do something. But then we find if we scratch the surface, just go a little bit deeper, then we can go to an API documentation or an API document. And then we begin to understand that the options that are available inside of Make.com or inside of Zapier, when we're beginning to automate things, the list of options that are available may not be an exhaustive list of what we can do. And what you find is once they've listed all the options, at the end of the list of options, there's this catch-all where it says, make an API call. And so if you exist in the no-code world and you make use of Zapier and you make use of Make.com and you only live inside of what they make available to you, then you can do some effective work, but you limit what's really available. And so just by going that one step deeper, we can make use of an option like make an API call. We can come to a document like the Stripe document, and we'll look at another one in a second. But you can go to a list of API endpoints that are provided by the platform that you want to leverage, and you discover that actually the list of available endpoints goes way beyond what's referenced inside of Make.com or Zapier. And that understanding alone just opens up what's available to you. The horizon is so much brighter when you understand that what's available in these platforms is actually not all you can do, and we can start to go so much further. So with that said, if we have a look at the Webflow document, for example, and then we'll look at some examples of APIs in practice. So I can go to Google, I'm going to search for API documentation and then the platform. So here's the Webflow document. I can go to developers.webflow.com, which already sounds scary, already sounds like it's in the coding world as opposed to the no-code world. But we want to be able to leverage documents like this because, like I say, it opens things up to us so much more. So if we go to the document, APIs, and again, down the left-hand side here, not all of the documents are the same. They often have this left-hand column click into the left-hand column, and then descriptions and information. And sometimes on the right-hand side, we actually see the ability to test passing data between platforms as well to help us to understand exactly how to best leverage this particular API. But if we look at the Webflow ones, there are lots of different groupings of information. We can list pages, what about collections, content management, and we can list collections that are in there. We can get collection details. We can create a collection. We can delete a collection. And so having this understanding of APIs takes us beyond manual processes. And we said that we still want to use manual processes. It might be to help us think of new avenues of research as the research develops, but also for quality control as well, where we may choose to leverage an API to automate a process, but then we may want to build in a manual step as well. But these are the steps that we can automate all through Webflow. We can look at users. We can list all of the users on the platform. We can get a specific user if we know their ID, all sorts of different options. Webhooks as well. And we'll explore webhooks more when we begin to build together inside of Make.com and in Zapier and also in Airtable as well. But I just want you to understand that there are API documentation that's available to us that opens up the scope that's available to us far beyond anything that you might just find inside of Make.com or Zapier. And they are vast already, but you do find often that you bump up against these hurdles that we actually don't need to be stopped by. We can get past these things with just a little bit more understanding. And as we build together, you'll begin to see what's available to us and what can be accomplished. So let's look at this. This is the Google Books API. And the reason I want to show you this is I want to show you that there is just a quick application that we built as a family for my kids to be able to leverage their smartphones so they could document all of the books that they have in their house. So we created a library. The kids can scan an ISBN number with their mobile phone, pass that data into Airtable, and then Airtable goes out to the Google Books API and pulls information back. So let me show you that in practice then. So this is Airtable. We'll explore Airtable more. We just want to focus on APIs at the moment and just understanding what's possible. And if I go to, say, 10 Little Dinosaurs here, one of my son's books, there's a column here for an ISBN number. And this is just Airtable. It's a visual database. It's essentially a glorified spreadsheet. So these are just columns here that you'll recognize. If I copy this, and I'll just tweak the step of scanning a book with my mobile device, I'll just take the ISBN number that the camera and the smartphone would pass into Airtable. I'll do this step manually. So if I just create another line, I'll paste in the same ISBN number here for 10 Little Dinosaurs, and I'll click out of it. And so then something happens in the background. If I just open this up here just now, something happens in the background where Airtable passes some information over to Make.com. Make.com receives that information, and that transaction of data there is facilitated by an API. Make.com receives the information, sends information to the Google Books API, gets information back again, and then Make sends the information back into Airtable again. So it begins in Airtable, it goes through Make.com, it goes to the Google Books API, back to Make.com, and then back into Airtable again. And as you can see, the only data that we put into this particular record was the ISBN number. And then Google Books has passed us a number of different data points that are useful in this particular example. So we got the name of the book back. We have a screenshot of the book as well, or an image of the front cover of the book. The title, we have the authors, the publisher of the book, the description of the book, which is often longer than this. And then we have different image links as well, which we've already rendered in this record here so that we can actually view the thumbnail as opposed to just seeing a link to download that content, some other description text, and then a particular stage where the record is within the life cycle of the Airtable database. So that's just an example where APIs are serving my family in our home education world. They understand what books are available to us. We can scan with their smartphones. It's interesting for them to interact with APIs in that way, and we get the information back, so it's useful to us as a family. And then we have other records involved, but we have different columns of data here, and we'll explore this more in the Airtable section of No Code Mavericks. But this is how an API serves us well, is useful to us, saves us time, and helps us to order our lives. Super useful. Here's another example, and then I'll talk about why this is partly obsolete, but we'll look at this. So if I go to our example video, I'm going to grab the URL from here, go back into Airtable again. I'm going to drop the URL in here. I'll go to the status and I'll say, get YouTube API data. And if I go into here, I'm going to wait for the API to do its work behind the scenes. Airtable has sent a message to make.com. Make.com has received that data. Make.com then reaches out to an API, sends the data back into make.com, and make.com shares it again with Airtable. And so you can see now that we put in the URL of a video, and we were able to get back the title of the video. This is all automated. We have a transcription of the video, which is useful to us. It's a long transcription. And then we have an overall summary of the transcript, some action items for myself, where I use this tool that I've built to learn from YouTube videos. I'm asking for feedback from the AI to tell me what I need to learn from this video. And then I'm asking for suggestions of what else I can explore that relates to that content, that relates to that video. And so it's a learning process that I could do manually. I could use our Chrome extension. I could go to the video. I could grab the transcript. I could feed it into ChatGPT and ask these questions and get the data back. But actually, if I'm researching a particular subject and I want to move quicker, then this has been super useful. But beyond that, when we come to build together, we're going to use this process because we love this mix of manual and automation, but this particular automation is going to serve us well because we can grab content, bring it into a place where we can store the data in Airtable, for example, and then we can pass it out to Perplexity or out to ChatGPT and ask to have that data repurposed. We bring it back into Airtable as a staging location, and then the data is available to us to pass eventually into Webflow. So this is powerful. I would suggest that from day to day, it's perhaps obsolete for me now in the sense that we can use Perplexity in a very similar manner without having to have all these things connected together. But in our automated process where we can go from research to repurposing to publishing and then to promotion, then this is a key step. And so we'll revisit this and we'll build through it together so you can build this and leverage it in your own platform. The last thing to cover is the Perplexity API reference document. We go to the references and it seems relatively light on endpoints. The Stripe list of endpoints was vast and exhaustive, but the Perplexity list of endpoints is very, very short, and that we can create a chat completion and we can automate that process. And I just want to highlight that this is available to us. There is a ChatGPT API that we can leverage as well. And we use these glue applications that we'll explore next, Make.com and Zapier. And understanding the API reference documents is very powerful. It helps us to troubleshoot. It helps us to put on that hat where we just have to be, I've come up against a problem. I'm not going to be put off. I'm going to figure this out. And these API reference documents can be very helpful to us in figuring out what's gone wrong and how to fix it. I want to give you as much information as I can to shortcut the process. When we build together in make.com, I can give you blueprints to upload, and I can shortcut that process for you. But when you're in the wild, when you're building your own platforms, when you're making use of this information and you are building tools for yourself or for clients, you have to have that understanding to know what's going on, to understand what may have gone wrong and how to troubleshoot. And so we'll shortcut the process as much as we can, but you also need to be comfortable with using something like an API reference document to help you to troubleshoot as you build out in the wild as well. And we will look next at these glue applications which go between different platforms to facilitate the use of APIs, make.com, which was known as Integromat,